is what Donald Trump posted in 2022. Quote verbatim: a massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. Okay, there you go.
Okay. But you can't take him seriously when he says that sort of stuff. When Trump goes out there, he's insulting people. He's, getting people's names wrong. He's talking about Hannibal Lecter, and he's firing people up through just like rhetoric, right? I don't think that I can name a single conservative that I've asked about a specific Trump policy besides build the wall or something like that they could name. And I'm not talking about you specifically, AdmiralGibbs. I'm just talking about by and large, right? I don't think that people are looking at the policies between the two candidates. I think that this is, again, going to be another referendum on Trump.
Cabinet officials, like Hutch said, the fact that 40 out of 44 of Trump's cabinet officials and senior staff will not endorse him for president, and some of them have said some truly heinous shit about him, which happens to be true, that he's a moron, according to Rex Tillerson, as Secretary of State. Multiple secretaries of defense saying that he's a threat to democracy, that he won't read security briefings, that he's incurious, that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Let's talk about specifically what we think Kamala Harris will do for the border. What do we want her to do? What do we think she should do? What do you think she will do? And what, if anything, do you fear she won't do when it comes to illegal immigration in America? So first, let's break it down real simple. Do we think that she will take the border situation seriously when or if she's elected to office? What do we think, gang? I want to start with Portland, actually.
In all honesty, I think she'll probably work to revive the legislation that was recently killed in the Senate. And I think that Senate bill, if it passes, will alleviate some of the problems with the infrastructure necessary to process asylum claims and get us into a slightly better position, but that there will still be a significant enough presence of migrants at the border and border crossings that happen illegally that Republicans will still be making the same argument in 2027 when it's time to return to campaign season, and we'll probably see the can kicked down the road significantly beyond that Senate bill.
So, to your question, what is she going to do? We don't know. She hasn't given a press conference or spoken about it at all. All we have are her aides coming out and denouncing a few of her previous stances, like making it a civil crime to cross the border, or a civil infraction to cross the border. So we don't know what she's going to do. So
can I ask you a question on that? I'm pretty sure already, it's something that I was reading earlier today, it is already a civil offense to just cross the border, but it becomes either a misdemeanor or a felony, like criminal charge, if you recross or if there's like some other stipulations. But it's already a civil charge, like initially, yes? Unless there's another
I'm not a lawyer. As soon as you push back on my research on this, I don't know.
Yeah, it's already a civil charge to get.
Could very well be.
Yeah,
she
it's just if there's additional qualifiers.
I think that what she was saying in the
link that you sent, she was just saying like turn it all into civil, which I don't know what I agree with that, but it's substantially different than just like decriminalizing it completely.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was, I don't think we're going to see that because her staff is already denouncing it anyways. So I think she's going to. What I feel like the czar argument, I'm not accusing you guys of this, but I feel like the party's intent is the little PR dance that they're doing with the czar argument is to absorb the successes of the Biden border policy and also brush off all the failures so she doesn't get blamed for anything that bad that happened. So Mayorkas does and Biden does and she doesn't. When in reality, that's kind of the truth. Like they are more to blame than her. It was Biden's border policy. Also, if you guys start debating about Biden's border policy because of Artemis's questions, that document, the 8-page one called The Border, that has both HR 2 notes, the Senate bill note, and a bunch of different things like when Republicans say they're not enforcing the border laws, I actually have the laws in there that they're talking about and stuff like that. Feel free to use that in your arguments as well. But I just don't think she's going to be, I think we see what's going to happen in her administration depends on what the election comes into. If we see 60 people in the Senate, we see her have the majority in the House and take the presidency, I think we're going to get a pretty left-wing bill. If we see something split, like she doesn't take the
let's
Senate.
let's deal with like the most likely reality.
Okay.
It's not going to be 60-seat Senate.
Yeah. So the most likely reality, I think we're going to see something between the Senate bill and HR2, much closer to the Senate bill. If you look at the Democrat wish list and then you look at that Senate bill, they definitely made some major concessions. You really have to give them credit for that, where HR2 is straight up just a Republican wish list with no negotiation done on it. I think they might steal a couple things from HR2, add them in there. At the end of the day, we'll get a good border policy that fixes the loophole.
Okay. Any responses from either of you?
Well, can you repeat the question, because I haven't answered it yet?
What do you? Okay.
What is it basically? What is Kamala Harris actually going to do once she gets in office?
Yes. What do you want her to do? What do you think she'll do? What do you fear she won't do? Go. Give it to me.
Yeah, I think that I actually mostly agree with what Tyler said. I think that that's probably where we're heading. I think that I think that the idea that we're going to get anything besides the Senate bill or like a slightly modified version of that is unlikely, to say the least. It depends on a couple of things. I think that if Kamala Harris is as good at, negotiating and bullying people into working with her like Joe Biden was with all the bills that he was able to get passed, then it's possible we see that exact same bill. If not, then depending on how obstructive the Republicans decide to be on any kind of legislation going forward, if they decide like they're going to be vindictive because Trump left.
I think if that bill is put forward outside of election season and you don't have the looming presence of Trump there to put his finger on the scale, it passes pretty non-controversially. It's really a matter of whether or not there's like specific political will to get it done when it's not being utilized as like a hot button election carrot to dangle in front of the population.
Yeah, but I just wonder if Trump does lose the election and he still maintains a presence in the Republican Party after that, and there aren't some kind of changes in the provisions of the bill, the Republicans, if they're still taking marching orders from Trump, especially if there are no changes to it, they'll likely just shoot it down. So that's something that I worry about, but I can't see the future. I don't know if that will happen or anything.
You can't see the future. What are you doing here then? We're only here for the seers and soothsayers, okay? Go ahead, Gibbs.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick take on this. This is my thing. I'm a little concerned if she gets elected. One, because I think she's inept. I haven't seen any evidence of anything she's tried actually be successful, despite what Sonsol's talking points over there were. I don't see any evidence of that. I also see Venezuela is currently having basically a civil war, or massive unrest. I feel like that's going to lead to a lot of immigration coming from there. I think this immigration crisis is not done, right? So my take is this. I kind of wonder if what she'll do is after the election, if she gets elected, let this sit on the back burner. And I kind of think that maybe something will happen because she can be tough on crime, right? She was smoking weed while putting people who smoked weed in prison. So clearly we know she doesn't mind enforcing laws that she doesn't agree with or whatever. So the way I'm looking at this is I almost see her not doing anything, something really bad happening in the U.S., and then her cracking down eventually. It's almost sad that I think that it'll take a catastrophe for her to actually do something about this. But I do see her if a catastrophe happens, then maybe she'll step up. Otherwise, we're boys.
I forgot this. I forgot this $5 from earlier. Sorry, Mr. Wise Guy Plays. Apologies, but you just reminded me of it, Gibbs. He says, "Yo, Gibbs, just the best take on the border. Very strong stance. Was not expecting that, to be honest. I will have to steal that from him. Thank you for the $5. This is from a while ago. Appreciate it.
Waste of $5.
I think it was the best $5.
Never giving me money is never a waste. Never a waste. But you wanted to say something, Sansal? I didn't mean.
I'm trying to remember. I lost my train of thought when you interrupted. What was it that he just said? Oh, it was about the Kamala Harris weed stuff. Genuine question. I don't know the answer to this. I wonder if you do. When she was the DA and she said that she wasn't going to prosecute people for weed, was it, I'm not going to prosecute people for simple possession of weed? Was it I'm not going to prosecute people for smoking weed? Or was it, even if you're a dealer with 60 kilos of weed, I'm not going to prosecute you? Do you know if
I thought it was the opposite. I thought she was throwing the book at him.
Well, I'm literally asking you right now. Do you know, like, when she said, "I'm not going to, prosecute people for smoking weed," was that a promise not to do
did she
like
say that?
ever?
For the
Yeah,
gifts.
I think we
Got it.
might be misunderstanding each
Yeah.
other. I don't.
I don't think she said that. She's been throwing. Well, I said that she was like locking them up.
Yeah,
She
and
was
I'm
pulling
saying,
Trump.
was she locking up people that just had simple possession of weed?
Yeah, all sorts of shit. I mean, it was a big. I mean, yeah, that's been her biggest gripe. I mean,
This
you want me to
is-
find something? I thought this was common knowledge. I mean,
Can you like link me something on that? Because I'm
Sure.
pretty sure that
me a
is
second.
not the truth. I'm pretty
wasn't
sure that
prepared
she
for this
did
talking
crack. I'm
point.
pretty sure she did
Thank you
crack
for
on weed, like people that
Yeah.
had like huge amounts of weed or like were distributing it, but for possession, no.
Thank you for the 5 gift subs, Tyler. And I am going to ask Portland if his hair naturally has that beautiful wave, or did you have to work on it?
No, came straight out of the shower like this.
Straight
It's
out
just
of the
a
shower.
genetic advantage that I wield over the rest of you, and I
Fair
do it
enough.
responsibly. But sometimes the power does go to my head. Get it?
Get it? 'Cause
Power.
it's from your head. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair
you
enough.
guys.
Let's talk a little bit about. Let's transition because I think we've kind of hit a wall on the border thing. I don't think we're
Hey,
getting. Yes, I did it right. We've gone through it. It's kind of
There you
circling
go.
the
Here's a-
drain. But
here's a link.
when it comes to
Silence
Kamala
gives the
Harris,
star of the panel is speaking. Sorry.
when it comes to Kamala Harris, there's a lot to talk about, right? I guess I'll start with this. Gibbs, what is your least favorite policy of Kamala Harris?
Obviously, her border takes.
What is her border policy? Can you enlighten me?
I mean, that's the point. What is the border policy? Nobody knows. She went down to go address key issues, failed miserably. Migrants keep flooding.
Then
up
how do
here
you know you don't like it?
Because it's non-existent, and I would
Okay.
like some kind of existent border policy.
To Sondsol, what's your
sorry.
favorite Kamala Harris policy?
What's my favorite Kamala
Yeah,
Harris policy?
favorite thing she's done legislatively. Mhm.
Legislatively, I don't think I know. I haven't had a chance to look into her record yet.
Okay, fair enough. Portland,
I don't
what's your
have a
favorite
goddamn-
Kamala Harris policy?
Don't have a goddamn thing. Okay, the last thing that the policies of the Biden administration, I think, have been largely successful and encouraging, but I don't know that she's been a policy architect actively in any meaningful capacity. I think that one of the biggest advantages that she has in her race for the presidency is that she's largely remained kind of in the background during the Biden presidency, and she and her team can strategically choose which wagons to hitch themselves to and which ones to steer clear of, because her involvement on the public facing side has been pretty minimal. So wasn't my personal pick that she assumed the candidacy, but I think that for what we were given, it's kind of the best case scenario for the party in terms of electability. So I will be voting for her, albeit unenthusiastically.
Okay, Tyler. Question.
I'm not gonna
for you
lie.
about policies.
if I don't do research on something, I am not
You don't know.
prepared for it.
Fair
So
enough.
like,
My
I didn't.
point here, though, with these questions, is I think as we've kind of demonstrated, no one knows what she thinks, right? No one
That's very-
knows.
Well, the thing is
what
that
her policies.
yeah, the
actually
problem
are
is,
going to be
is that
advocating
like
for, right?
since the election in 2020, like when people are in the primaries, they're going to take much more partisan stances because they're trying to win votes for the primary, and they moderate and give probably what their more accurate views are during the election. I don't know specifically what she did during her time in the Senate, but I'd be surprised if she was going to like go in there and be to the left of Bernie Sanders on basically anything as the president.
She
Go ahead.
in the Senate, we know that from the now deleted YouGov page that she was the most liberal voting senator in 2019, and she also missed 62% of votes. We don't know very much about what she'd do as the president. Again, her staff is going out and denouncing almost her entire 2020 campaign, minus like
What's
a
the
couple
average
things.
number of misvotes?
Oh, I have no idea, but she was one of the worst. I know that. I also know that, I'm waiting because I didn't do anything to prepare. I'm on the other side, so I didn't do anything to prepare about nice for her. I'm waiting until we just get to the general discussion of whether or not she's a good candidate. I think she's terrible. And the only one policy we know that she is endorsing is that new court packing bill that just came out. So,
well, I think this is the Dems doing two things. I think it's actually smart strategy by the Dems, right? And I'm going to tell you why I think it's smart strategy. One, they keep the Biden-Harris money running Kamala. Two, they don't have to waste a up-and-coming star candidate. They can use someone with name recognition, someone already tied to the Biden campaign. They can, like, basically, since she has no policy, they can, like, wash themselves of the bad stuff Biden did, and then they can claim simultaneously all the good stuff Biden did. It's pretty brilliant, honestly. It's like success by amnesia, which seems to have been Biden's strategy the whole time in office. It's very impressive. I'm going to give him credit for this one, but it's basically, I think it's a bait and switch. They don't want to waste somebody. They think it's doubtful she'll beat Trump, but they don't want to waste someone like Buttigieg or the guy from what's the Midwest guy? I can't think of his name.
Or Gibbs, both of
Newsom.
you, right? Right. You keep saying that they're going to waste her. She's a terrible candidate.
Oh, she wins, then even better.
From the polls, at least, she seems to be outperforming expectations.
Well,
She's,
I agree. That's why it's a good
caught up or surpassed Trump in almost every swing state, I believe, except for maybe Pennsylvania. And then she's just neck and neck. But when it comes down to it, like, she's obvious, the prediction markets have swung towards her, right? Like, the metrics that we have seem to indicate, at least for now, and I know it's early days yet, that if you're going to call her a terrible candidate, that doesn't seem to be how people see her, right? That doesn't seem to match what we're seeing.
Really quick, I also want to point out, like, I just read the article that Gibbs gave, and under prosecutorial policy,
which I said, this covered all that, which she's like she's letting him go. She ends up being one of the more liberal ones. She did cost like $1,900. I mean, I'll back off
because
that point.
Because the policy was that no one with a marijuana conviction for mere possession could do any jail time. Like, it seems like everyone she went after was dealers.
People while she was my point was she was still convicting people even though she was smoking. So clearly she'll do things even if she doesn't believe it. That was my point.
Well, she probably wasn't dealing, so she probably isn't being hypocritical there.
I was under the impression that most people that are in prison for possession had a greater charge reduced down to possession in a plea deal of some sort. So
anything like that, yeah.
But back to what could you said. So when I say waste, I don't necessarily mean like as a waste. Like, this is actually like a good thing. They don't have to use their tier 1 candidate. They have someone that's already like twofold, like I said, tied to Biden, and they have the money already come in. They don't have to change the campaign finance. And like, they have this early momentum. It's excitement. They have a shorter campaign cycle for her. So maybe they can, like, do some kind of crazy thing. This is an unprecedented kind of like event that's happening here. And so, I think it's a smart move. You don't want to waste your top 5 people. And if you do win with this candidate, damn, you might secure it for the next 20 years, right? Because you might have her for 8. You might have come in after another one of these other rising stars come in and like they built the name. Like, this would be like maybe a kill shot for the Republicans for the next 20 years if they get her. If they don't, well, we'll run somebody better in the next one. Like, I don't think I think it's a win-win for the Dems as far as a strategy sense with Kamala personally. I think she's a terrible candidate, but like, if you dress up a hog nice enough and you get drunk, some people will kiss it.
I would say a lot of the polling that we're seeing right now, Wick, are people that have their votes decided. There's more people that like Kamala Harris, obviously, than Trump. That being said, you still have a lot of double haters out there, and a lot of the polling data says if you force them to vote, they are picking Trump over Kamala Harris. If you go into a lot of issue polling, the border, inflation, the economy, several things, Trump has a massive advantage in those. And I have a Harvard-Harris poll in here. 69% of independents think Harris supports open borders, her 2020 stand. Only 50% of independents approve of Biden appointing Harris in the way she did. 60% say it should have been more competitive. So they have some issue with her being appointed that way, and half the independents don't like it at all.
My understanding. Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
Oh, no, I got a few more just like little key highlights for her being kind of. There was another poll that was just on Twitter, general election poll. Now, this was all before the civics poll that came out yesterday or today. That was really good for her. So I might be behind on my data, but there was another poll that came out that said like 70% of independents are planning on voting Trump over her. And again, these are a lot of independents or a lot of the double haters, the double negatives that don't really like either.
See, my understanding based off of the things that I've been looking at and the reports that I've seen are that the double haters are like quickly diminishing in favor of Kamala Harris. I haven't been looking at specific polls, granted, because that's just not something that I've ever had time to do and like go through and sift through. And I usually just look at aggregates and listen to people who are like political science people, podcasts, shit like that. So like maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm just getting a skewed vision of the news. I don't think that it's like definitely going for Harris in, a lot of places, but the swing states have narrowed significantly. Georgia is now in play, according to like a bunch of people, including conservatives that I've been listening to. They're worried about Georgia with the energy that we've seen in the past couple of days over there. So I'm not sure if like we can look at just like a couple of singular polls or anything like that to.
So you listen to Galen Druk 538?
Hell yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't missed an episode in years. So one of the things they say is like polling is unreliable in terms of what it's trying to tell you sometimes. So the honeymoon thing Republicans keep talking about, I think that is the people's way of approving getting Joe Biden out of the position and putting somebody fresh. I think once you get Kamala Harris out there, she starts talking and being Kamala Harris, we're going to see her tank just the same exact way we did in the primary. She has no success on the national stage.
Well, she's been going around in all of these rallies, and there have been clips of her being like a pretty strong speaker, and people being really fired up for the things that she said, and people, being pretty excited like online to the things that she said, not just the people there. So I don't know if
that being said, if you ask a Democrat, they'll openly tell you they were ready to vote for a dead guy over Trump. So that's coherent.
True. I mean, that's true, right? And I think that was like the initial like, hell yeah, we don't have to vote for a dead guy over Trump. But also on top of that, I do think that she's like jumping onto that momentum of just like, okay, it's not Joe Biden, and then she is bringing a kind of energy into the Democratic field that people weren't expecting her to have, because we've been shown, just like the cringe clips out of context that even I fell for a long time, where like the additional context makes it a lot more reasonable. Like my name is Kamala Harris. I'm a woman. My pronouns are she, her. I am wearing a blue suit. And then she goes on to her speech. It's like, okay, well, I guess it makes a lot more sense. Like if she's talking to a bunch of blind people that she describes her physical features, right? So like, I feel like a lot of those things, now that people are seeing more of the context behind them, I think that some of the general feeling that she's a bad candidate or would be a bad candidate is kind of melting away. And I think that the momentum is just like on her side. And I think the Democrats still have to do everything right. They're still like on the back foot, all things considered, but the trajectory is definitely in their favor right now. And I don't know how long the honeymoon phase will last, but
$10.
Like if Trump keeps doing stuff like he did yesterday, which I haven't seen the full interview, but I saw a couple of clips from that journalist thing.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, if he keeps doing stuff like that and Vance keeps, couches or whatever, then I think that it's going to go that way.
Look, I think that, well, first of all, $10 from Artemis Fowl, because I have some opinions here too, and I want to jump in, but I'll get my money first. Artemis Fowl for $10. The double haters are diminishing in favor of Harris. End quote. Can you point to any policy or event to show this is a reaction to and not manufactured consent polling? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question one more time?
Sure. Can you point to any policy or event to show that the double haters are diminishing in favor of Harris, that they're
like if I knew that we were going to talk about that, then I would have brought some sources. Yeah, I just don't have it on hand.
No, I understand. I guess like for me, I'm not excited about Harris. I don't like her as a candidate, but she's better than Trump, just straight up in every metric. So I'll be voting for her. That said, I think the reason that we have a shot isn't so much the replacement of Biden, but it's Trump's choice for vice president. I don't think you guys understand, at least in the Rust Belt, how much people do not like J.D. Vance. Like, he is detested. He is seen as a betrayer, right? As someone who was elected to help them out, and he's done nothing on that front and simply sucked up to the rich and powerful, such as Trump. Again, could be wrong, but that's my feelings on it. But yeah, I just want to kind of, again, because we ran the gamut on the border issue. And so now I want to just kind of get your guys' feel on Harris as a candidate overall.
It's
Gibbs,
kind
you
of
wanna
hard.
say something?
Sorry,
Yeah, I
Gibbs.
want to say I'm going to
Yeah,
quote.
Hutch, if you want to come in, just jump on in.
I'm
But
gonna
I wanna
I'm
hear
gonna
from you.
I'm going to quote Sondsol here from now on about Dims being bamboozled by clips out of context, much like with Trump on January 6th when he said, peacefully and patriotically are the very fine people on both sides thing with
Yeah, that
Nashville.
was taken out of
That's-
context. When you look at the entire speech, it's way worse, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we read it. It's not that bad. And then, secondly, in light of recent events, really shows the era that Kamala is bringing to the new political sphere. And I mean, I think maybe Trump started. I think they're cut from the same cloth. I actually propose that on election night we have a twerk off between Megan Thee Stallion and Amber Rose, because I think that is how we're going to get the voters to turn out. That's what we should do, because that's what we're doing at Democratic rallies, and the Republicans got Amber Rose giving speeches at the RNC. So, we're doing good, boys. We're doing great. This country's.
Okay. Hutch wanted to jump in, and we've kind of been circling the drain a little. Maybe some fresh blood will bring some more energy into the discussion.
Yell
and
at
things like
Gibbs
that.
some more if you feel like the panel's kind of. Sorry, go ahead, Hutch. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Nice
That's
to meet
okay.
everybody. I mean, I'm just curious. I only got to check in the last 5 minutes, but are people denying that she's like straight up surging in the polls?
No, just questioning how much weight should be placed on those polls because they've proven to be historically pretty unreliable when it comes time to actually take the election into full consideration. Like Trump was polling like 11, 12 points behind Hillary 3 weeks before the 2016 election.
Yeah, it's like new candidate buzz.
18 points, I think, in Wisconsin it was, like maybe 4 weeks before the election.
Huge gaps can often turn out to be not representative of the general population's voting intent, and the honeymoon phase has just begun, so people are probably more enthusiastic now than they will ever be to voice their support for Kamala before she's had a chance to actually articulate any of her policy positions or intentions should she come into office. So,
well, what do you guys think is a more, when we're talking about like polling discrepancies, like what do you think is a more relevant time period to consider? The 2016 election, the 2020 election, or the 2022 midterms?
The time it takes for the sweat to drip down my chest to my ball sack. Like, who gives a shit about what time? Polls are always inaccurate, like all the time. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen this guy's going to win by whatever landslide number and then he loses. It's just like they're totally worthless.
No, I think I'm agreeing with you that I think it's correct to be skeptical of polling in the modern era. I'm asking you, how have the polls been wrong post Dobbs?
I didn't do any research on that specific question. I can probably take a look.
You know the answer. What are the polls?
I mean, you're like Portland just.
I'm sure.
Actually, I think that they've underestimated. I think they underestimated Dims.
Yes,
to a degree on abortion. Yeah, it seems like in Ohio there was that underestimation on abortion.
No, all over the country in 2022 and in special elections, all over the country. We've seen Democrats regularly running between 5 and 10 points ahead of the polling. So who knows what's going to happen when Trump is in the race? He was underestimated 2 elections in a row. But I would argue that recent polling is way more relevant to consider. I think it's reasonable to infer that the pollsters changed their methodology in the post-Trump era, and there seems to be some evidence that they overcorrected.
That's very possible. That being said, it's just too early to tell. We just don't have enough.
One of the issues I'm having, Hutch, about the polling and everyone very excited for it. No, it's good news, but I'm nervous about making any decisions or getting too hyped up over polls in July, right? In July. What has happened in almost every election that I've paid attention to is that the polls are wildly back and forth, and then come October and November, they always tighten. They always tighten back to basically a 50-50 toss-up. And I worry that everyone is getting maybe a little too confident, right? Because yes, Harris is surging, but is that going to last? I don't know. And is that going to be something that sustains itself into the November and we actually see it play out when it comes time to vote? Because we don't need to win in California. We're going to win in California, right? All this extra excitement from people in non-swing states literally does not matter. What will matter are maybe 6 states, and it will be very, very close if history is any judge. If past is prologue on this. So that's my concern. Go ahead.
I think it just bears repeating that we have 3 full months of the campaign trail left, and we've seen very, very little in terms of substantive policy discussions or positions put forth by the Harris campaign. And we know that, I mean, just look at the amount of the shift that we saw post the first debate between Trump and Biden. Like, obviously a small error or a series of small errors can create a significant change in voter kind of sentiment towards the candidates. We have just very, very little information to go on, and a lot of time for things to develop in a number of different ways. So I do see a lot of Dems taking what I would call really premature victory laps over the polling data that we're seeing from the swing states right now. Yes, it's encouraging, but we still have 3 months to go and plenty of ways that this could turn back in the Republicans' favor.
Yeah,
we don't know yet.
I don't know if we like. A poll is a snapshot in time, and it's going to be accurate to that snapshot in time. There is a lot of time to go before the actual election happens, but I don't know if the policy, like her policies not being out there right this second, is affecting that. And I don't know if when they get released, if that's going to affect it like whatsoever. Because again, like
well, maybe
this
Hutch
is like
knows,
a second,
right?
Well, this
I
is
asked
this
all
is
of
the
you
second.
guys.
Yeah, this is
all
this.
you go
Let
ahead,
me just like finish
and
this.
then-
But like, the Trump campaign isn't running on policy. When Trump goes out there, he's insulting people. He's, getting people's names wrong. He's talking about Hannibal Lecter, and he's firing people up through just like rhetoric, right? I don't think that I can name a single conservative that I've asked about a specific Trump policy besides build the wall or something like that they could name. And I'm not talking about you specifically, AdmiralGibbs. I'm just talking about like by and large, right? I don't think that people are looking at the policies between the two candidates. I think that this is, again, going to be another referendum on Trump, right? It was going to be a referendum on Trump and Biden again, but that's shifted. And now it's just a referendum on Trump again. And I don't know if it just depends. Don't shake your head because a lot could happen. I could be wrong, but
I just want to jump in before Hutch real quick. I just want to say, like, you're talking about that, but that is literally what the incumbency advantage is. The fact that Trump had 4 years of tenure show the people know how he's going to govern. He's a kind of a fixed point at this point. We know what he's going to do when he's in office.
It's not the only part of incumbent advantage, though. A lot of
it isn't. You're right. It's more, but that one specific feature, the fact that Kamala Harris has never been in that level of leadership, she still needs to define what her candidacy is going to be about and what her presidency would look like. Whereas Trump is already defined.
I also don't know if incumbent advantage. Yeah, go for it, man.
Hold on. I want to ask a question. I don't know if Hutch was here when I asked all of you, but the same question I asked to everyone else. What's your favorite legislative accomplishment from Kamala Harris? What policy has she implemented during her time in the Senate or as vice president that you like the most? That's to you, Hutch.
Oh, I thought you were asking the whole.
No, I already asked.
We already asked this question. Yeah.
So when she was elected, I believe she was elected in 2016. So she took office in 2017 when Republicans were in charge of the entire Congress. And she, in 2018, it was a divided Congress. So the Democrats controlled the House and the Republicans controlled the Senate. And so I don't know about specific legislation. I would imagine not much legislation got done during her watch. And as far as what her accomplishments legislatively are as VP, I don't know what that means. She's not in charge of legislation. We know that Biden had a tremendous legislative track record. Say what you will about your opinion about like each piece of legislation. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. You can't say that he didn't get a lot of bills passed. And so I guess you would sort of grade it on his track record, and then she would inherit that. Or
I guess when it comes to like the border, which we were talking about earlier during the show, what is your thoughts on how she performed in her role towards the Northern Triangle, right? Where we know that she was put in charge of diplomacy over the Northern Triangle, as well as Mexico, Venezuela, a couple more, right? Where she was in charge of diplomacy to kind of solve the issues for the migrant crisis there. Do you think she did a good job? Do you think that the policies or the interactions that she had, do you think that they helped or hurt at the border? Go ahead, please.
Well, when we look at the numbers of border crossings from those specific countries, it went down each year. So I don't know, like, listen, I don't think it's really, she could have been, she was put in charge of diplomacy, but what does that even mean? Like, she's not the one that's deciding, the dollar amount aid package that goes to Honduras. That's going to come from the Biden administration. So she's going to serve as more of like a symbolic role.
I didn't get to bring this up earlier in the panel, but I do have the specific things that she accomplished. She was more of a negotiator. So I'm just going to read 3 paragraphs, a couple of sentences, okay? Rather than develop ways to turn away or detain migrants at the U.S.-Mexican border, Mrs. Harris's work included encouraging a Japan-based auto parts plant, Yazaki, to build a $10 million plant in western Guatemalan region that sees high rates of migration, and pushing a Swiss-based coffee company to increase procurement by more than $100 million in a region rich with coffee beans. Convened leaders from dozens of companies, helping to raise more than $5 billion in private and public funds. And so the money had led to 30,000 jobs in one country, another 60,000 in another, and a lot of infrastructural build out as well. And that's just 3 paragraphs out of, I think, 7 that they talk about specifically what she did.
I would like to get in here. I wanted to talk about, the one other thing that we didn't mention as the candidacy, and this is, I think, very important. How many times have we sat here and we've heard all about Trump's high turnover rate in his office? Well, here's some interesting statistics, right? Kamala had a 91.5% turnover rate. As of March 31st, 2024, only 4 of the initial 47 staffers employed during Harris's first year as vice president were still working. Overall, Harris's staff turnover rate of nearly 92% surpasses Biden's rate of turnover, which is 77%, and former President Trump's rate of turnover, which is 72% during the first 4 years of their terms. This is according to OpenTheBooks.com. Now, what's interesting is we have been sold a crock of shit for the last whole campaign cycle about how Trump has had this massive turnover thing, whenever Biden's even got a one, and Kamala can only keep 4 of her people around. It's amazing. And all these people, this is the other argument. This is the other argument I've heard from all the Dems. Oh, well, the people that left Trump hate him. Well, have you heard what the people that left Kamala are saying? They calling her all the names under the sun. It's crazy. They hate her with a vitriol I haven't seen since the leftists tried to eat each other last time. But it's crazy. They hate her.
Hold on. What? How many people that used to serve under Kamala and on her staff have publicly come out and said that she's not qualified to be president?
A lot.
Who?
I don't know. Just start Googling it. They all hate her.
So you have no examples? Also, the reasons why there's turnover in administration is probably the big thing, at least for me, and what I think is the big reason for most people. The reason Trump was getting rid of people, or people were getting fired or leaving, was because they weren't loyal enough to Trump. When they weren't loyal enough to Trump, he got rid of them, or he pressured them to leave, or they resigned. That's the reason why we saw much higher turnover rate that people were concerned about. There's going to be turnover rate in a presidential administration, a vice presidential administration, but you don't see Biden firing someone because they weren't loyal enough to him. Whereas Trump is, I think, explicitly stated that in public multiple times. He was weak, so I had to get rid of him. He didn't do what I wanted.
Yeah, I got a couple super chats, and then we'll get to I know Portland wants in here too. $20 from Artemis Fowl to say, to be clear, CNN ran a segment on which party outperformed the polls in 2016, 2020, and 2022 midterms. Republicans outperformed the July midterms polls by 1 point. Response to Biden saying he was underestimated in the debate. Thank you for the $20.
The July midterms?
The poll done in July for the 2022 midterms.
Maybe
Right.
that's specifically CNN polls, but all the pollsters projected the Republicans to have between like a 20 and a 30 seat majority.
Okay. $5 from Artemis Fowl. I liked Harris's implementation of keeping prisoners in prison past their parole dates in order to use them as free labor to fight wildfires. Thank you for the $5.
Those
Hutch is
were
right there.
Those were that was a policy that was implemented by lawyers that served underneath her. She stepped in and reversed that policy.
I don't know why you'd be surprised that Dems are in favor of slavery. I mean,
the lowest estimate that I heard
in and reversed that policy. To be clear,
the lowest estimate I heard during those midterms was 21, and Republicans definitely underperformed in the House in those midterms. Hutch is right.
It's not just the midterms though; it's special elections ever since then. And you were asking about like, you wanted to bring it about like Kamala and energy about Kamala, but let me just ask you guys, like, how could the beginning? I agree with you what you're saying, Wick, when you say like I'm not saying this is a done deal. We should just pack it in. We got this thing locked up. Absolutely, don't go in with that sort of mentality. But I would ask like even people that are anti-Kamala on this panel, like, can you give a good faith answer to like how could the start of this campaign have gone any better?
Whoever did that rollout should be paid millions and millions of dollars and be put in charge of rolling out video games, movies, all sorts of political genius.
Yeah, I mean, I already complimented it already. I mean, I think the only hiccup, and this is my only critique, I think it's been done wonderful, and this is like a really minor critique, is that it does feel like they took Biden out back and shot him like a rabid dog. That's what it feels like. And like the only other critique I got is, I guess I have two critiques, is that it does lead us to question why they don't just have Biden step down all the way and have Kamala leave the last 6 months, but unless it's a good strategic move, which leaves her with the clean bill of health slate. So like, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, either way, I think it's been I complimented earlier. I said this has been a strategic coup by the Dems on this one so far with Kamala.
She wouldn't be able to run twice if she took over, I'm pretty sure, is how the rules work.
Yeah, because you can't serve more than 2 terms.
I don't know if that's true.
I don't think that is true.
He linked it to me. I didn't think it was true either.
No, but like think about it. If you serve for 3 months and then you serve for 4 years, right? If you get elected for another 4 years, are they going to let you like serve an extra 3 months on top of that? Because it says that you can only serve for 8 years, and in that case, you're going to have to like hold a new election at a different time. I'm pretty sure.
Also specifically state though that an individual can only be elected twice.
Yes.
Well, I thought that it said 8 years. Am I wrong on that?
I
don't know off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
From what you sent me, Sondsol, it looked like what you're saying is correct. I'm not a legal expert.
Yeah,
apparently it's debatable. Apparently it's debatable. I'm looking up a bunch of law things. I got like, here's an abstract from one. Well, this one says that they could, but then there's other rulings that say they can't. So I think it's something that might have to be debated.
I don't even think it's debatable. All it says is no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. And no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. So it looks like there's a 2-year kind of rule there.
Ignore that article. I read the wrong. I posted the wrong thing.
Okay, $10. Artemis is using money to argue with all of you, by the way, which I approve of. Continue to do so. $10 from Artemis Fowl. Kamala directly intervened to try and block exculpatory evidence in an appeal that would have freed an innocent black man from prison that she put there in order to get a PR victory.
He's going through all the Tulsi talking points. That's another thing that's not true. It is true that she, in her capacity as AG, moved to block DNA testing. When she was in the Senate, she reversed her position on that and said that should occur. There was an independent investigation done in 2023, and whoever these independent investigators were said that they found conclusive evidence that he was guilty of the crime. So this idea that like it was for sure this innocent black man that would have been freed, that is just a flat lie. That's just not true.
Flat lie. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Google it. Look it up yourself. I'm sure you'll find what I'm talking about.
No, that's fine.
He's doing the Tulsi talking points is what it is.
Gibbs, when you're back, did you ever find those quotes from the people who were denouncing?
Yeah, I did. I posted it. It's the Business Insider one.
Hold on.
I don't know if I didn't post it. I'll post it when I'm.
No, the last
I'm
one
out of notes. We got through All 9 pages of what I prepared, guys. Great job, everybody.
I don't see your link.
I'll post it right now. I have it right here.
That just
thought
means
I
we're
did.
gonna
Can
have
you
to find a
just
topic
read
that you didn't
the-
prepare for. Is
Yeah.
Kamala
There's a whole bunch. There's a whole
brat?
bunch of shit. It's like paragraphs of like different people saying stuff.
I'm waiting.
It's here. There you go.
Okay, so
A
a former.
former staffer says aides have to. Sorry.
No, it's fine. A constant amount of soul-destroying criticism. So, do you have any quotes of her of people
Yeah,
saying that she's unfit
the
for
one.
office?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I don't have specifically that exact quote word for word. But I do have them saying that basically. Hold on, here it is. Let me just find it. They said basically that she would. I'm going to paraphrase it until I scroll through and find it. But they said she goes, "Oh, she would have them do a bunch of prepared work, and then they would present it to her. She wouldn't even read it and just criticize it." So basically, it sounds like she's unqualified. Doesn't even actually do the work. Use the work that they put forth. I mean, that's what
Is
it
this
sounds
person
like
on
to
the? Is this person on the record, by the way?
me. I don't know. You have to scroll through. I just found one thing off one Google search and posted in there in a hurry.
So
I mean,
So
I
you
wasn't
would-
sitting here
you-
trying
you
to
would-
dive down either. I thought one was to be sufficient. Usually, if there's smoke, there's fire, kind of thing.
well, wait, hold on. You would agree that nearly 4 dozen former cabinet officials under Trump coming out and saying he is unfit to serve is way more substantive than whatever you're proposing, right?
What is your question? I didn't hear you. Say it again, sorry.
There are nearly 4 dozen former cabinet members that served under Trump, including his former chief of staff, his secretary of defense, his secretary of state,
2 of his
that have
secretaries
said
of defense.
two of his secretaries that have come out and said he is unfit to serve. You would agree that that's much more substantive than whatever you're pointing to about Kamala ex-staffers, right?
No, I would say they're equivalent.
Saying someone is mean and like a bad boss is significantly different than someone saying that someone is uniquely
Well,
unqualified.
if they're a
or
bad
like
boss, then they're not qualified, are they?
Well,
no.
Well, hold on. How do you feel about the nearly
Is the
4
president
dozen
not like the boss
former
of the nation,
cabinet
like per se?
officials? How do you? Well, how?
Yeah,
I mean,
if we
do you-
completely change what we're talking about, sure, we can completely change the words and the meanings of everything, and then say like, yeah, this is exactly the same. But no, we're
Completely
not talking
change
about
the
that.
words and the meaning. I mean, if I was doing anything, we was dumbing it down. We weren't changing no meanings. I was just saying, hey,
Yeah,
no
there has been a
Hefe,
lot of
the
dumbing down
president-
from your side on this
I
conversation.
know. I've been
buddy.
trying to help you out here because you've been seem like you've been struggling to follow along. I don't understand how you can sit here and say, "Oh, okay, bad boss doesn't mean not qualified." If you're a bad boss, that means you're not qualified.
Okay, but
don't
hold on.
know if
Wait,
that's
do you
true.
apply the standard equally? So, for example, I brought up this
I
is just
just
a
said
true.
I think they're
No,
equivalent.
no, hold on.
I
Wait,
think each
listen.
one.
Just listen to my question. So, these are nearly 4 dozen former Trump officials that have on the record come out and said he is not fit to be president. What is your? What's
Okay,
your? What?
I-
Can
I'll
I,
ask
hold
you a
on. Wait. What's your reaction to that?
My reaction would be that we've had like 3.5 years since the Trump presidency. Of course, there's going to be more people out. Whenever we've just now, she's being put up as a candidate, and we've only had like a month.
Don't deflect to Kamala. Don't deflect to
That's not
Kamala.
deflecting at all.
Yes,
That's
yes,
my
you are.
answer. How am I deflecting?
No. How do you feel about these former Trump officials saying that he's unfit
I
to
mean,
serve?
I think it's equivalent, and I think that it's jaded staff on both sides.
Wait, so you think that staffers
Then why
for the
did you
vice
bring it up as a
president
point in the
are
first place?
equivalent to the president's cabinet?
Well, I brought it up as a point because the Dems have been sitting here talking about how Trump has this mass quitting when Kamala's got 92% and Biden had 77, which is higher than Trump's.
Gibbs,
And we got
Gibbs,
Biden-
we need
Yeah,
a
it's more
citation
just
for that
comparison.
because I linked
It's
you
already
earlier.
posted. It's in the thing. It's in the.
Yeah, send it to me, please,
I'll
because
give it to
the evidence that I've seen shows that the turnover rate was substantially higher under the Trump administration than the Biden administration. I did hear that the vice president's office under Kamala Harris did have a very high turnover rate, but that Trump topped all of them. And of course, again, we're talking about senior staff as well, cabinet officials. Like Hutch said, the fact that 40 out of 44 of Trump's cabinet officials and senior staff will not endorse him for president, and some of them have said some truly heinous shit about him, which happens to be true, that he's a moron, according to Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, multiple secretaries of defense saying that he's a threat to democracy, that he won't read security briefings, that he's incurious, that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, it's interesting because they said that about Kamala too. I literally.
Well,
in the
no.
article
Well,
I
that's the
posted,
thing. We need
it
the
says that.
quotes. We need the quotes to say that says that she's stupid, that she's a moron, that she's unfit to serve. I don't think you'll be able to produce
Some said
anything
Harris
like
would
that.
refuse to analyze briefing materials set forth by employees, then scold them if she appeared unprepared. That sounds exactly the exact same criticism you just leveled at Trump.
Does it sound like the exact same criticism?
That's the exact same criticism.
Is the exact same one?
That is to be fair. That is a similar criticism to one of the many levied at Donald Trump by 40 out of 44 of his senior staff and cabinet.
Who also was notorious for not reading briefings, not reading memos, needing memos to be a page or less with pictures in order to metabolize the information and actually pay it any attention. And that is to dismiss the entire controversy the multiple staffers have reported on in the lead up to the transfer of power, wherein Trump was threatened, his entire staff threatened to walk out if he replaced yet another attorney general with an even more fervent loyalist, and in order to prosecute the election, theft before he left office. There was, I think, 3 different staffers that spoke under conditions of anonymity to attest to the fact that he was threatened, with a mass walkout from his entire staff if he went forward with his last intended attorney general swapping because he didn't like the way Bill Barr had dismissed his claims of election fraud.
Well, you can't have a walkout of 92% of the staff's quit already. I mean,
You don't get to use this as like your standard bearing thing if you're not applying the same standard to Trump.
This is what you're not getting.
Total bullshit. You're trolling. It's a troll. It's a troll.
No, it's not a troll.
Yes, it is.
Let me tell you what's happening right here.
You're not being serious.
I am being serious. This is what you're not
getting.
No,
you're not. I don't believe you're not being serious.
Explain to me why you're not getting it. I'll explain it to you. It's real simple. I said in my opening thing when I brought this part up, was that I was exposing the lie that Democrats have said, and they've said here, they've spoke, Trump had this high turnover rate, yada, yada. And then when we look at the numbers, Biden had a higher one, and Kamala's even higher, and they have similar complaints about all 3 of them. So what I'm saying is fine. I will say that. Hold on.
They don't. They're not similar complaints. They're not similar.
Everybody heard they were similar. Listen, nobody believes what you're saying. If they do, they're brainwashed. So what I'm saying is basically, and it's real simple. I was saying, hey, these things are the same on both sides. I'm willing to admit that. And now you're going, look, you're not admitting to the same, which is the whole point that I'm making, that y'all are being hypocrites.
Okay, so Trump's former Secretary of Homeland Security, who went on to become his chief of staff, what's his name again? What? I always forget the.
Talking about Mark Kelly?
Kelly.
You had Mark. So wait a minute. You had Mark Meadows. You had Mark Kelly.
I'm talking about Kelly. I'm talking about General.
General Kelly. Okay.
So General Kelly, who was his former Secretary of Homeland Security, who was his former chief of staff, confirmed on the record that he heard Donald Trump praise the Nazis, praise the Nazi generals for being loyal to Hitler. He also confirmed that Trump did, in fact, speak about fallen soldiers who their grave sites are in France. He said he heard them call them suckers and losers. What can you find me something equivalent from
that he just fired? Was it Mattis after he just fired?
No. This is a retired. This was a retired Marine Corps general who served
that he had just let go.
No, he served. No, he resigned. Don't
rewrite the story. Oh, he resigned.
No, he resigned after Trump tried to steal an election. He resigned.
You've never had a bitter employee. This is my whole point: is that you had a bitter employee.
No, don't deflect. No, I want you to. You said that the complaints about Kamala were similar, right? This man said that Donald Trump
is hypocrisy.
This man debate about Kamala Harris, and you're telling him not to deflect off Trump.
This man said on the record.
This is crazy.
Okay, let me just say my point. This man said on the record that Donald Trump is not fit to serve as president. Show me the equivalent. You said that these are similar complaints about Kamala.
I mean,
show me a similar complaint.
I showed one right there. One already won, and that's just one from that article.
I asked you to show me
other quotes. Like we could just go through here. Like I mean, there's a lot of similar ones.
You're not a serious person. This is okay. Can we just
$20, which is serious.
You're the one talking about Trump in a Kamala debate here. Like,
you're not being serious. This is like a troll to you.
It is not serious. It is. This is what I'm talking about.
Enough. Both of you, stop. I gotta make money. $20 from Artemis Fowl. I can't find anything on any independent investigation that proves Christopher Dunn was actually guilty. Not only that, How does that refute Kamala blocking exculpatory evidence and violating the defendant's right?
Because you're claiming that it's like this definitive thing, like he was for sure this innocent guy, and that's not been established. It's just like Tulsi, she completely mischaracterized what had happened. I'm going to link the article in the chat for you to find.
Was evidence blocked or was it not?
It was DNA evidence that I think when she was AG, she did recommend blocking it. She changed her mind when she was serving in the Senate and then recommended that they do the DNA testing. But then an independent group of investigators came in and they investigated it and they claimed that they found definitive proof that this guy is guilty. So this point of contention is like, oh, this guy was for sure. He's still in jail, for example.
So you're saying
like
it was a blanket policy that she had, and it just so happened to not work out for this guy. She didn't do anything to him specifically.
I don't know that level of specificity, but I'm going to link the article for Artemis in the chat in just a second, if you give me a minute to find it.
Please do.
I got it out at 8.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
I got a Dota thing tonight, guys. Sorry.
I know a couple of you got to go, and you spent some time to take some time to come on my show, and I really appreciate it. So I want to give those of you who have to jet an out, and I want to give you a chance to shill your stuff and tell people where they can find you. And gang, if you're listening, go find these people. They've take their time to come on my show. Please give them a follow, a sub, a notification. I don't know, whatever they want. Go ahead. I know Tyler, you have to go, and I don't know who else. So go ahead.
All right. Well, my channel, I bought a $400 sound system. It never showed up in the mail after 3 months. Out Amazon, they're sending me another one. I haven't done any work on my channel since I decided I wanted a good sound system, so I don't really care about that. Give all your subs to Wick. I'm just having fun debating politics so that people in real life don't have to hear me ramble about politics. Thanks for entertaining me.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else have to go, or
I got a few more minutes.
I can chill for a little while.
Okay, $10 from Artemis Fowl to say, I love that this dude is taking quotes from Kelly that he said he made fun of World War I veterans, but John Bolton, who hates Trump immensely, stated it never happened.
No, he said he never heard him say it. Like the premise there is that John Bolton would have had to have followed around Trump 24/7. So like, just because he didn't hear him say it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And Artemis Fowl, your premise, good sir, is that a retired Marine Corps general who was a registered Republican for his entire life, who served in the Trump administration for 4 years and ran defense for him like the whole time. Now he's just lying about this. Like, is that supposed to be plausible as well?
Yeah, the way we that just bend over backwards to, like, I don't know, give Trump and MAGA the benefit of the doubt here. Like anything that's said about Biden or Harris, we have to take at face value, but we can't take anything at face value that's said about Trump. The
We also
asymmetry
can't
is
take
staggering.
anything that he says at face value because everything
Right. No.
spoken
Yeah,
in
you
rhyme
can't take him
and-
literally. You have to take him
riddle.
seriously, Sondsol, and then don't take him seriously at other times. You got to understand, Sondsol. You got to crack the MAGA code, okay? That comes with a ring and a cereal box.
Okay. Well,
Gibbs, did you get that link, that article I sent you? We have dueling pieces of information. I will say that the article that Gibbs linked, it was a Fox News article. I don't have any issue with that. They cited openthebooks.com. It says they described itself as a government watchdog organization. Reported last week that Harris is experiencing a 91.5% staff turnover rate within the Office of the Vice President. The organization, citing payroll records, says as of March 31st, 2024, only 4 of the initial 47 staffers employed during her first year as vice president are still working for her. And then they said it's 92%, and that President Biden has a rate of 77%, and former President Trump's rate of 72%. But the article that I cited and sent him has Trump's rate at, I think, 92, so 20 points higher than what the Fox News article had.
probably have to look into the how they are tracking those numbers, which I haven't, to be clear. $2 from TJ Nuts to say establishment Republicans never lied about Trump, and then $5 more from Artemis Fowl. Again, either of you are welcome to jump in. I mean, I don't mind you just giving me money every time you want to talk, but you are welcome to jump backstage and I'll pull you in, right?
I want to
What's the
add.
plausible
Let me
explanation?
ask the $5. Let me do the $5 though. Generals lied to us for 20 years that the Afghan army was well prepared and not totally a shit show, and we were winning the effort.
That's the same general he's
Okay.
talking about, by the way. Just one quick
Okay.
ad. One quick ad. I now posted an article with named staffers that have come out. Named staffers saying she's unfit. Basically, here's the quote.
Basically, all right, let's hear it.
All right, you ready for this? This is good.
Yeah.
Hold on to your butt.
I want the name too. Can I get the name too?
The name is Gregory. The article's posted. You can scroll up. It says his full name of the thing. I don't know about you, but this is not a workplace of someone who respects her staff. For a woman of color to employees stand when she enters the room smacks a bygone era that we as Americans deplore and find demeaning. Furthermore, she didn't show the quality of leadership or skills of even being a decent boss. And this is after, that's like the lightest thing in this article. It talks about scathing things in this. So like clearly that's a named person now. And this took me 10 seconds to Google. Like, so it's clear that the people are coming out. So this is the same complaints the Dims have made about Trump for years. And now
it's not the same.
The shoe is on the other foot. And we over here.
It's not the same.
It is not. It's
We're
so not.
heavy.
And you're selectively applying your standard. You're pointing to like now you say there's a few people you say on the record. Well, no. Okay. Well, then if you're outraged about that and you think that makes her unfit to serve, then you necessarily have to think that Trump is unfit to serve because it's just way more people came out
You just
on the
shouldn't
record.
vote, Gibbs. You just shouldn't vote.
I didn't say I thought either one was unfit to serve. I'm just saying it's the exact same complaint. I say they're exactly comparable.
It's
not, bro.
I also said they sounded both. What did I already say earlier? They sound like jaded staff, former staff on each side. Don't be sitting here trying to paint me in a corner with what I've already clarified exactly what I'm saying.
Nobody paints baby in a corner.
That's right. Nobody.
No, listen, it's not the same. I mean, Hutch is right. I mean, the scope of the vitriol directed at Trump by 40 out of 44 senior staff is unparalleled. Now, maybe they're out there. Maybe like, the vice president's former chief of staff says she's an idiot and, she has no business being anywhere near the levers of power and that she's an authoritarian and that she praises Nazis. I mean, maybe that stuff is out there, but I'm with Hutch. I've seen nothing so far. I will grant you the one where you had one staffer say that, man, I can't even remember what the equivalent was for Trump. What did I concede to you earlier?
It's not important.
Whatever. But the bottom line is, I still don't think you have a long way to go, my friend, before bridging that gap.
And Josiah and Admiral Gibbs and anyone else who's interested, I did post the Brookings Institute's findings of the comparative turnover rates in the Trump and Biden administrations throughout their 4 years. It does appear to corroborate Josiah's claim that the overall turnover rate for Trump's senior officials was 92%. Biden's sitting in the 70s. The Trump turnover rate does appear by most metrics to be unprecedented in its volume, and also one of the reasons that I think that it's worthy of more consideration than Kamala's turnover rate is the very public and very, unprofessional way that Trump's dismissal of several cabinet appointees played out on the national stage, specifically people like Jeff Sessions and not that I was any fan of the guy, but, there were a number of people that sought to challenge claims Trump made throughout his administration, and those people were pretty publicly shown the door at, excoriated by Trump on social media. And I think there's a much, much more significant commentary to be found on his character and leadership based on the level of importance that the people in those positions, like the level of importance of the positions of those people that turned over at such a high rate and in such a public manner. So
thanks for doing that, buddy. I appreciate that because I'm multitasking here. So the last thing I want to do is walk away letting fucking Gibbs, who shits on Star Wars canon these days. All he does is complain. The last thing I want to do is let him walk away thinking he got a W.
I give credit in some Star Wars canon where it's due. We don't need to have that debate.
Yeah,
we do need to have that debate, goddammit.
I'll tell
maybe
you
another day.
We'll do it later. There's some good stuff.
Do not care about the Star Wars stuff. I'm sorry. So yeah, we are just kind of winding down a little bit here, though. I'm just curious, like Gibbs, since you're kind of the odd man out here, with a little bit of a dog pile.
You don't even have to throw an out. He's just the odd man.
I'm not even. I'm ready. Bring the dog pile.
I guess my question to you, what would be your strongest argument for why you would choose or vote for Trump over Kamala Harris? And then I'll let everyone respond to that.
Well, this is going to come down to, it's a real simple. Tyler, the average majority brought this up earlier. Her voting record was extremely liberal. And then she had a 62%, I think he quoted was the quote. He said, like non-voting thing. All right. So looking at what I can look at, since it seems she has like a lack of policy, like in general, that we are aware of, we all come to that. I can only look to what her record is. Yeah. Okay. Well, the previews before you got here, we agreed to that. But it seems like she's kind of a relative unknown. I can only look at what she's done, like voted on previously, which is very liberal lefty. Now, Trump, I've been adamant. I wasn't a huge Trump guy going in. I preferred other candidates. We're stuck with him in the Republic. It's time to ride or die. But it's kind of like, yeah, I don't like some of Trump's policies, but I can live with these. And I can see the proof in the pudding. And it's pretty clear to me that we've been lied to consistently by the Democratic Party over the last 2 years, especially. And it comes down to like Bill Clinton told George Bush Sr., that's the economy, stupid. First, we look like at the inflation high. I know groceries are way higher when you go. Everybody's working 3 jobs. Like I know people like, oh, we have more jobs than ever. Well, that's because everyone's got to work 3. Like housing's up, like regulations are causing problems. Small businesses are hurting. There's a lot of metrics that are saying like this is bad, right? And then Americans see this, and then they're being told by the Dems it's all great. The same thing with Biden's dementia, right? And hold on,
Gibbs, can I ask you a question to elaborate here, since you and I tend to have a good faith rapport?
Sure.
I would like you to be honest with me. I take your point on inflation, everything else. Are there any macroeconomic metrics under the Biden administration which are good?
Yeah, I'm sure there absolutely are. I don't know them off the top of my head. I mean, but I'm sure there definitely are. I mean, just like under Obama, I've said Cash for Clunkers was a great program, right?
No, I'm sorry, not to clarify. I'm sorry, not policies. I don't expect you to name policies, but I mean metrics. So like job numbers or unemployment or wage growth or stuff like that. GDP growth, like those sorts of things.
I'm pretty sure unemployment's lower than it was before. I know that they're claiming job growth is higher, and that's why I take issue with why they say job growth and more jobs have been created, because I think it's like the gig economy. We all like 3. But my basic point that I was just going to finish though, and then I'm almost done, is just that when I look at Kamala, I look at either the continuation of more left policies, which seem to stifle the economy, and they're definitely not as strong on the border based off previous evidence. And so it's like I have to vote for Trump. Like if it's either more the same or worse, we can't.
I actually have a just real quick. I have a question for Josiah since he's here now. I asked you this, Hutch, right? And I asked everyone else this, so I'll ask you, Josiah. What is your favorite policy, legislatively or policy-wise, that Kamala Harris has implemented, either as her time as a senator or as her time as a vice president?
I don't remember her senatorial record all that much, but as vice president, I just kind of take the approach that Gavin Newsom has. I mean, it's the Biden-Harris administration. It's really difficult to parse through to what extent any president or vice president plays a direct role in the implementation of their policies. And by the way, that goes to everybody. So like, with Donald Trump, if a Trump person, if Gibbs were going to say, under the Trump administration, this, and this, we could get nitty gritty and be like, was this really Donald Trump's idea? And I just think that would be bad faith. It was his administration. He appointed the people. We tend to give presidents credit for things that are passed and done in their name. And the same thing goes for the president, vice president. President Biden said at the beginning when he appointed Kamala to be his running mate, she was going to be the first phone call in the first meeting and the last phone call in the last meeting. I would say if I had to give a specific that I know she was directly involved with, we just had one today where she was involved with the prisoner exchange with Russia. And that's a really interesting example because one of the hostages, one of the prisoners is Paul Whelan, an ex-Marine who was imprisoned by Russia when Trump was president. And he failed for 2 years to get that back. And the Biden-Harris administration succeeded where Trump failed. So that would be an example. I would say that she gets credit for the Biden administration's successes since she is his second in command. And today is a good example of a very specific message where she was specifically name dropped as, interfacing with the Chancellor of Germany and other things as well to get these prisoners back.
Okay.
I just want
go ahead.
I just want to set the record straight. So in terms of multiple job holders, the number of people that work more than one job has been steadily, albeit slowly, declining since the 90s. It used to be between 6 and 6.5%. It went down quite a bit during the pandemic for obvious reasons when a lot of jobs were lost, but it has now rise to a level that it was at when Trump left office, which was it's right about.
You think that's
a little
an accurate number?
A little over. I'm just going over the publicly available data. So
I understand that. But do you like just in your gut? Like I don't have any like hard evidence, but like here to present to you. But do you
This
feel
is
that
just-
that? No, but really,
He said
do
it was
you-
the data
wait,
from the 90s. Do you
I-
think
but
that
I
every
feel-
president has lied about it all this entire time, including
just-
Trump?
They do this every
Hold on,
time a
hold on.
Democrat's president.
No, no.
They accuse him of cooking the books. They do this
No,
every time. It's like-
I'm asking, just amongst like y'all's friends group, we're all like similar age, right? I know, like of my friends group, most people have 2 jobs. Some have 3, or some do like 1 job and they do like an Amazon delivery thing, or they do like, DoorDash or something in the free time. That's 2 jobs, right? So like that's a lot of people. And there's no way only 6% of my anecdotal friends are doing that. And so like I'm asking you, do y'all think 6% of y'all's anecdotal friends are doing that? Like honestly, just like honestly.
This is the same data that applied during the Trump presidency. I'm just giving you what the publicly available data
I understand
tells
that,
us.
but you're not answering my question.
So
Other
Everybody I
friends-
know,
Okay,
everybody
I'll
I know has
answer.
one job. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'll answer, right? And again, I'm a streamer, so maybe
Stream
it's a
counts,
little
there you go.
weird, right? But most of my friends have their day job and then they stream. Most of
Good
them
jobs.
don't work more than one like real job, quote unquote. Yeah.
Yeah, but streaming's a job. You get paid for it, don't you?
It's gig work, and people who do
gig
gig
work.
work
Is
primarily.
streaming a job?
do
I
multiple
guess, but like I don't
I know
know
I'm
that
stressed all the
count.
time. It feels
Yeah.
like a job.
Yeah.
Can I ask Gibbs a question about Trump?
Go ahead, please.
You talked about policy, but I'm just curious, like, so we know the timeline on January 6th, like really firmly. It's been established by interviews with literally hundreds of witnesses. Trump himself does not dispute this timeline. So we know that Trump went into the White House dining room at 1:25 p.m. in DC time that day. And we know that he didn't ask the people to leave the Capitol until 4:17. We know that he was watching the violence on 4 different news stations, on 4 different TVs in the White House dining room. Does that at all sit with you in a way that makes you kind of like upset? Because I have a family of cops. My sister's a cop. My brother-in-law's a cop. My dad's a retired cop. I have so many cops in my extended family. I grew up around cops. When I saw cops getting the absolute shit kicked out of them that day, it infuriated me that he waited 3 hours to ask them to leave. Do you have any kind of emotional reaction to that?
He was letting them cook, man. Sorry. Just
Yeah, I mean, do I think he handled it poorly? Sure, could he handle it better? I mean, like, I'm not gonna die on the hill of Trump. I've already previously many times, said I would like Trump was never my first pick, and I basically think he's a New York Republican, so I think he's a Democrat. He's Bill Clinton 2.0 in my opinion. So like, but if my choices are between Bill Clinton and whatever the Kamala is going to be, which is terrifying to me, I'm obviously going to pick the Bill Clinton, like 2.0. So like, yeah, am I going to sit here and like justify like Trump sitting and waiting 3.5 hours? Is that going to be me that does that? No. Am I going to sit here and say he was actively inciting the revolution? I'm also going to say no, and like this is, I don't want to do whataboutism, but we are going to do whataboutism. So like, I get this issue is everybody's outraged. Well, I'm a small business owner. I own a couple businesses, right? And guess what made me really enraged? As a small business owner, seeing $20 billion worth of damage over the BLM insurrection, where they destroyed businesses, they made fire bombs, and then took over a part of Seattle, like literally from the government. That would be an insurrection. That's a revolution, armed revolution. And like, guess what? That incited me. Did you get incited when you saw people who worked their whole lives have their businesses destroyed?
Yeah,
in a
Hutch
blink of an eye?
was pissed about all that actually. So but that
Well,
actually
they're good.
no, yeah. So yeah, what's interesting about this though, and this is where Gibbs, I like you. I'm fond of you. I love the fact that we bond over Star Wars and stuff like this. From our interactions, you just seem too good natured, in my opinion, to be as loyal to Trump as you come off sometimes, like in our conversations. I think we work on you, buddy. I think by November you are prepared. I think you are prepared to vote for Kamala. You just mark my words. But I do want to like kind of hone in on this. You just say that now. That's what every Kamala voter says before they become a Kamala voter. So to Hutch's point, though, about January 6th, so I understand you want to talk about the protests at BLM, and that's fair enough. I mean, that was the biggest mass protest movement in American history. You're talking about 20 million people in all 50 states for more than a year, right?
World history.
Yeah, in world history. There you go. So, but what's interesting is I think that the Democratic Party's leadership's response to the BLM protest was pretty responsible, right? So the thing that I would kind of quibble, there are a couple of things. Number one, there was the underlying fact of the matter. The BLM protests were triggered by what Derek Chauvin did to George Floyd. We have video footage of that. That happened. January 6th was predicated on a lie, which is that the election was stolen. It wasn't. There's no evidence to support that it was stolen. So that's one major difference. And number two, then you have to evaluate the extent to which Republican and Democratic leaders were involved in each respective thing that we're comparing. Joe Biden didn't trigger the BLM protests by hosting a rally and urging people to march anywhere, right? As a matter of fact, when the protests became violent, he publicly condemned them and was pretty consistent in that. And he wasn't the president, right? He was just Hutch, correct me on the timeline. Was he even the Democratic nominee at the time? Did he win the primary at that point?
Yeah.
He was? Okay, so there you go. See, he was the
he came out immediately and he said, quote, "I want to be very clear about all this. Rioting is not protesting. Looting is not protesting. Setting fires is not protesting. None of this is protesting. It's lawlessness, plain and simple. And those who do it should be prosecuted. Violence will not bring change. It will only bring destruction. It's wrong in every way."
Right.
Harris
Well, you know what? I'm going to do what y'all do.
Well, wait a minute. Well, let me just finish this one thing. Let me just finish this one thing, and then you can
Let the poor
respond.
conservative talk, man.
So the Democrats, I think, especially Biden, we'll compare Biden and Trump. They were the leaders of their two parties at the time. Biden was pretty consistent. But the thing about Trump is not only was he not consistent, not only did he have the rally in the first place, which in turn was predicated on a lie, but he actually had a responsibility to stop the riot at the Capitol. He had two responsibilities. Number one, he was their moral leader, as the leader of the cult that was attacking the Capitol. And then as the commander-in-chief, as head of state, head of government, chief executive, he had the highest constitutional obligation to put a stop to it too. So I guess my point is, by like 3 or 4 major points, Trump's behavior on January 6th was considerably worse than anything you can throw at Joe Biden's feet.
Actually,
with the BLM protest.
I actually disagree.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I don't give a shit about Biden. He stepped down, but I can tie something directly to Kamala, and that's who we're talking
The Minnesota
about today.
Freedom Fund, right?
Yes, she had bail funds for rioters. Like that
Harris?
The Minnesota Freedom.
Harris distinguished between peaceful and violent protests in her own August statement.
Let me just.
We must always defend peaceful protests and peaceful protesters. We should not confuse them with those looting and committing acts of violence. We will not let these vigilantes and extremists derail to the path to justice.
Also,
Artemis is in the backstage.
Hold on. Portland has to go. So Portland. Please.
I'm feeling a little redundant. There's enough of you to carry the water of this airtight argument, but real quick, it feels like worth pointing out that Trump is on record as offering to pay for the legal expenses of people who assault protesters at his rallies and people who are in, I can't remember the exact terminology. I think it was knock them out, we'll pay for your legal fees. It was a very, very straightforward declaration that he does not give two shits about the rule of law. He wants people to be violent to the opposition, and he's more than willing to foot the bill for it. He's also gone on record as saying that he will pardon everyone that was arrested as part of the January 6th protests.
Including ones that assaulted police officers.
Yeah. So worth pointing that out. I do need to take off, so I'm going to let you guys have at it.
Just real quick before you go, two things, right? I want you to tell people where they can find you. And two, because I want to ask everyone this because I'm really curious because there's a lot of Democrats here. Who is your pick for Kamala Harris's VP? Who's your favorite?
Well, I'll go first since I already gave myself an out. Portland is burning on Twitch and Twitter. You can find me there if you want to argue with me. I just basically pop into shitpost and argue about politics sometimes. So, no hard feelings. Give your money to Wick. Follow all of the fine people here, even AdmiralGibbs. But if I had to have any sort of input in the process of choosing a VP, I'd say go for a moonshot. LeBron James is almost done with basketball. Guy is an Olympic hero. He's an American champion of freedom and values that we hold very precious in this country, and I think he would make an excellent VP pick. Either him or The Rock, but I think The Rock is a little bit too right-leaning for most people to get on board with. So one of those two.
Sondsol, who are you picking for vice president? And thank you, Portland, and we'll see you later, buddy. Sondsol, who are you picking?
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of time. I mean, I just moved, and so I've mostly been unpacking all the boxes, but the only person that I've really looked at or heard much about was Shapiro. It seems like he's a pretty good pick, and I think he's probably the most likely pick because the rest of them don't seem to be in swing states, or it would be a really bad idea to pick them because it would leave a Senate seat open. So I think it's probably Shapiro.
Okay. What about you, Josiah? I'm really curious.
If I had it my way and I didn't
Yeah,
have to
your way.
like consider strategy, it would be Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. Been a big fan of his for about a year and a half. He's a guy who, despite very narrow majorities in Minnesota, has leveraged those majorities very well. He uses power. He doesn't. He's has the advantage over the Republicans in Minnesota, so he doesn't treat it as it's like 50-50. They have an equal say at the table. He gives them an opportunity to work with him, and if they decline, he uses his power and leverage to get what he wants anyway. I love that energy, and I think he needs to bring that to a Harris administration. But tactically, it's probably going to be Shapiro, I feel.
Okay, so if you had your druthers and it wasn't for the fact that she actually has to win in November, you'd pick Waltz, but otherwise you think Shapiro's a better electoral pick. Okay. Hutch, same question to you.
I'm with Josiah.
Okay. Gibbs, you're
My meme pick
you're
would be
Republican.
my meme
So,
pick would
I
be
don't-
Megan Thee Stallion, but my real pick I think Buttigieg. I saw him on Jon Stewart just last week, did really well, and he would JD Vance up in a debate pretty easily. I think that it would be as bad as DeSantis pulling out the poop map on old Newsom kind of level bad. I on a real note on that one. I do want to say one thing on the other subject before we move on too far. There's this interesting mental gymnastics that I keep seeing happening even within this debate, where Democrats specifically get mad or are okay with the Dems saying one thing and then actively doing another. So they say they're against these things, then they actively have a bail fund for these revolutionaries and rioters. Then they're mad that Trump said he'd pay for these people on legal bills that they assault them, when he's actually never paid for anybody's legal bills. He's just said that shit. So it's Trump is verbose and boisterous and then doesn't do this thing that they're so scared of, and then Dems will be like, oh well, we condemn this, and then they do the exact opposite of what they're saying. It's like pulling the rug out from under you, and I really think it's very dishonest. I take issue with it.
No, it's not dishonest. The Minnesota Freedom Fund was a generic bail fund for indigent, people arrested, people in jail who couldn't afford their bail. Say what?
It wasn't like specifically her bail fund. She just directed people to that.
And it wasn't specifically for people who committed any sort of violent acts. It was for people who were just arrested, period, who couldn't afford their bail funds. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure
people died because of people that got out because of that bail fund, though.
Major fact check on that. I need your citation.
Yeah,
on
the
that
victim later identifies as Luis Damian Martinez. Martinez got back in his car, dove down the knee, was pronounced dead in the hospital with a gunshot wound to his chest, according to Citadel. Howard had been out on an $1,100,
Can you slow down and enunciate more, please? I want to hear this.
$11,500 bond in connection with a domestic assault case since August 6th. Court records show that's where the Minnesota Freedom Fund bailed him out.
So I want to make sure I understand correctly. So she is morally culpable for suggesting that a generic bail fund, that people donate to a generic bail fund, and if that generic bail fund applies any of its funds to a person who then subsequently commits a murder, that is Kamala Harris's fault.
Also, I couldn't hear what you were saying because you were saying it so fast and not enunciating. So did they kill? Well, I just need to
shot and killed by a guy that got bailed out by bail fund.
Yeah, but was it directly related to anything BLM related, or did he just go and kill someone later?
It was a BLM person that was bailed out by the bail
That's
fund.
not the question.
Yeah, so
did he go straight out
to kill someone?
He just killed someone.
There was some kind of road altercation, and he shot someone.
When people get bailed out, the judge gets actual discretion on whether or not he grants them bail. And if the judge didn't think that there was any reason for them to, remain in jail if they were able to pay bail, then
well, that actually doesn't help your case at all, because she backed this into the range of $41 million to get $41 million. Well, I can't even talk. $41 million to go into this thing that she's backed publicly, pushed for heavily, and then only a fraction, even if only a fraction went towards the rioters, some of them went to people that are like this guy, George Howard, a convicted rapist that killed another person.
So
that got bailed out by the Minnesota bail fund.
When the judge made the discretion to give them bail, when the judge gave them used discretion to say whether or not that they should even be eligible for bail, were they taking into consideration that they were going to kill someone because of the BLM riots? Like if someone like robs a liquor store, right, and then they get out on bail, and then they go on to be like a serial killer, was the judge wrong to grant them bail for robbing the liquor store?
No, the person. Listen, I'm not saying that she's actually over here putting her schlong up at this person that's getting graped, or whatever. But what I am saying is that she did push for the company to, like, the little organization, help get them the funding, and that organization that she's a part of or like spoken out for is funding these criminals that are getting out and doing this. You have to take some culpability for that.
But it was just a broad fund that went to any, and it was also in a principled stance of hers where she just opposes cash bail across the board. Now you can disagree with that policy and get into that, but I mean,
Gibbs, I might take your point better if she advocated for the bail of a specific person who then subsequently went on to commit violent crime. I still think that would be a stretch, but at least I could draw the connection better. But just to recap, she retweeted support for a generic bail fund that was not specifically for BLM protesters or violent BLM protesters. It was just a generic bail fund for people who had been arrested and couldn't afford their bail. And the fact that one of them, according to your article, so I'm taking at face value, was released on bail and then subsequently went on to commit a murder, I don't think that Vice President Harris is morally culpable for that, given the chain of causality there.
I mean,
I think that's a huge stretch.
So then by that same logic,
sure.
So there was recently an issue with streamers like promoting, I don't know the exact specifics, but like these little coins, the fungible tokens or whatever, the NFTs. That's what it was. They were promoting their NFTs, and they were just the face of the company. They have been sued, and the courts have found them liable for some of that. This is a very similar case. These basically were just the mouthpiece, which Kamala was the mouthpiece, and so she's over here doing this. She has to take some culpability for this. If those people who just were paid to say this can be sued individually, and she's actually willing and just willy-nilly doing this, just going over, hey, I believe in this, and I'm trying to get y'all to, invest in this bail fund, and then these people go and kill people, then, yeah, I mean, sorry, you got to take some accountability for that.
Got you some backup, Gibbs. Artemis Fowl finally got...
Yeah, I had to go buy better internet for this hotel because I told you I wasn't going to be available for today. But all right.
Listen, the audio quality, Artemis, you need to get your money back, okay, buddy? I mean, come on.
Is it that bad? That's fine.
No,
it's okay.
Okay.
It'll work. Welcome.
So the bail fund is that she's already publicly distanced herself from that bail fund recently. Mm-hmm. Like she said, it never happened. That's a lie or whatever in the last week or so when people have brought it up. But she didn't just promote the bail fund randomly, because she was anti cash bail. She promoted it right after the BLM rioting started happening. It wasn't just some random moment.
She promoted it after the BLM protests started happening.
What happened? Okay, was there any BLM? Was there any rioting during the Summer of Love that took place where BLM protests did not?
Yeah, of course. But you seem to be indicating that she was doing it.
Why are we
You seem to be indicating that she specifically posted the bail fund to help the people who were rioting and not people who were arrested, say, for trespassing or some other form of civil disobedience during mass protests. You're talking about a former prosecutor. Do you seriously think that she was trying to incentivize rioting?
No, because everybody, including Jared Nadler and all the people, was Nancy Pelosi, we're all Antifa, or Nadler's case, he said Antifa didn't exist. They were all subtly supporting, we need to go out and push back on people and make them feel uncomfortable. I'm literally quoting the...
No, you're trying to imply that Dem leadership encouraged rioting, and they all condemned it, bro. All of them.
Hold the on. Is this some histrionic shit going on?
No, you're wrong.
You can use that.
Hold on.
Okay, while they pull it up, while he pulls it up, $5 from Beer Water. This is for pondering.
Sure.
How do you feel about Destiny's comments after the attempted assassination, since you have Republican family members?
I think what Steven said, particularly about the Corey Compatore guy, the firefighter, I think it was very unhinged. I told him that. And I certainly, I have family members who are not just Republican, but I've got a sister who is a pretty loyal Trump supporter. And it wouldn't surprise me to ever see her at a Trump rally. if something were to happen to her, I'd be devastated. So yeah, I disagree with the sentiments he expressed regarding the firefighter. As far as the broader sentiments of Republican hypocrisy on violent rhetoric, I think he's right on the money. And I think he's right on the money to call it out and push back on the double standard.
Okay, thank you. Okay, have you found the quote, Hutch?
I mean, there's multiple quotes. There's quotes from Clyburn. There's quotes from Schumer. There's quotes from Pelosi. They like all of them unequivocally condemn the rioting. This idea that they were like secretly in favor of it.
So here's my issue with this. So you have them saying like go out and make people feel uncomfortable, getting in their face, let them know they're not welcome here. Like again, I'm literally quoting
specifically Maxine Waters. You're talking about.
Okay, I'm just saying. So we do know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. So we're talking about people doing like recommending illegal activity. Is because that would be harassment, right?
What?
Yes.
What are you saying?
That would be that. Maxine Waters.
Maxine Waters. I don't agree with that rhetoric. That was too much.
Okay, but that was.
You're saying Maxine Waters is like all of the Democrats, and it's just bullshit.
No. I don't know why you're saying
that's
that.
what you're doing.
I'm saying you can bullshit other people, but it doesn't work on me. Look.
Yeah, well, hang on. On the subject,
I'm an
before
person,
I have to
so
go.
Your stuff doesn't work on me. So
yeah, we're going to end this all soon.
We should find some time because I think Artemis is pretty confident, and I think I think he can do a good job here. Artemis can pick a debate pal, a teammate.
Oh God.
And if you give us some time, we can compare who has the greater track record or the more prolific track record of violent rhetoric, the modern Republican Party or the modern Democrat.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Wait a minute. What?
Republicans. Why would I even care about that?
Oh,
I have never voted for Republicans.
Don't care about
I understand. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I've only ever voted for Obama. I don't know why.
Though, if you want, I could find you, Josiah.
The issue is that most
I can find you people who would argue that the Democrats.
Yeah, you can try that. But the issue is that Republican rhetoric is all about fighting the glory of war, stuff like that. So all of their rhetoric is going to be more on the violent side, anyways. So I can't really say, oh no, the Republican Party doesn't do that. It's because all of their thing is about the glory of like policing, firefighting, all this like heroic shit that involves war and stuff like that. But I can't get around that. If you're talking about
they
that,
also
then
do
yes,
like political campaign ads where they're shooting images or like words associated with Democrats.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there was also the Trump in a trucker dragging somebody in the back of their truck and shit. Like what are we talking about here? There's a lot of.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I haven't heard.
I do have to throw a flag on the play. I got dinner and I got other things I got to do.
What the f- is it with you and eating dinner? Like,
what
is
know
it with
it's
you?
crazy.
I scheduled
these things for 2 hours. You all want to come in at the last 15 minutes of the scheduled thing and then all talk about all sorts of shit, which is great.
Can I just ask Artemis one question?
Can I just ask me on here, Rick?
Can I? Well, I just want to ask Artemis one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I'll stick around.
Artemis, does anything that you've ever seen, the most egregious example on the Democratic side in terms of what you might consider inciting violence, we may quibble about whether or not that's true, but has anything that you've seen compare to Trump just yesterday saying he would, quote, absolutely, end quote, consider pardoning people who assaulted cops on January 6th?
So you're quoting the fact check that somebody did on, was it MSNBC or ABC?
No, I'm quoting him.
You say
No,
that?
you're not.
You say the
No,
fat chick?
At the interview yesterday, the woman asked him, would you, the woman, hold on, the woman cited all the most extreme injuries and then kept on asking him over and over again, would you consider pardoning these people?
The issue,
and
right?
he said, absolutely, he would consider pardoning these people.
Oh my God. Okay. All right, so I watched that portion, and this is why I don't like when you guys do this shit. So he said, if people are innocent, he would pardon them. And then he brings up the 512C or whatever being misapplied and people being found guilty of that. And that's who he talked about. And then after the fact, after that meeting, the event, the fact checkers went back and said, and then added additional things in that he didn't say, which was also the people who attacked cops.
He said absolutely. She asked him, "Would you
The
consider
innocent
pardoning these
people? The innocent people.
What
This
does
is just
that-
like the
what does
fucking
that
both
mean?
sides comment.
What does that mean if they were convicted? What the f- does that mean?
Look,
Innocent people?
so hold on. So you're saying that if somebody is convicted, they're 100% guilty and they actually did it.
He has said multiple occasions. His own staff try to rein him in.
Okay, so the people that are appealing besides
He has said multiple occasions he would consider a blanket pardon for all January 6 people.
no, I've also seen him say the people who did commit violence, the people that broke in, bashed windows, and attacked cops, he would not like those people. I've also said that. I've also heard that. So I don't know, but I know what you're saying about the National Assembly of Black or Association of Black Journalists thing. That you're totally misrepresenting what he said in that.
I would encourage everybody who's watching this to watch the entire thing. You can see what he said. Yes,
if they are innocent.
Yes.
What about when he said he wanted to terminate the Constitution? Were people misrepresenting him there?
No.
Okay. God damn it, Artemis! I was hoping you'd take.
Why would you? Like, here's the issue. Like I said, I don't vote. I only look at things through.
I know,
is it
asshole.
effective?
We've had this conversation. I know he doesn't vote.
Think that? Like, can I just ask a question? Do y'all like? This is something that like I gotta know. Do y'all? I'm sorry, Wick. I know you're almost done.
I'm hungry.
Do Democrats like not think that people make jokes ever? Like.
Here's what I think. I think that if Barack Obama joked about terminating the Constitution, your party would be seceding from the Union. How dare that guy with his Dijon mustard and his tan suit you joke about terminating the Constitution?
Well, hold on. Obama doesn't joke about the things he does. He like removing habeas corpus and like jailing.
What's the matter? What's the matter? He should be able to joke. See, this is the thing. This is my beef.
I would have preferred if he did.
Here's my thing. If you seriously, if you took the position. I just want consistency. We can disagree about the shit that Trump says, right? So it's the same thing with like the violent rhetoric, for example. So if you want to make jokes about, I'll use the Paul Pelosi example. If you want to make jokes about it, I'm not going to clutch my pearls. I don't care. Dark humor is fine with me. Just be consistent. Shut the f up when someone makes a joke about the equivalent for a Republican or like whatever. Be consistent. So it's the same thing. My issue with people defending Trump's rhetoric on terminating the Constitution, he was just joking, is that we know if a Democrat did that, Fox News would be like nonstop. Ben Shapiro, like, okay, gang, I know my wife's a doctor, but I need to see I need to see a cardiologist because my heart is racing. I can't believe that this communist Marxist party, that the Obamas, and I just that's what bothers me. If you think that he's joking, we can have like a factual disagreement on that. I don't think he was joking, but just be consistent. Don't ask me to not give a shit about what Trump says when you give a shit about everything that a Democrat says.
I'm assuming this is pointed towards Gibbs, right?
I mean, that's been my whole thing. No, I mean, that's the whole thing that we've been arguing about is accountability. I argue, like, I'm sorry, Wick. I'll just let you go.
Yes.
Because Wick's got to eat dinner.
I need food or I will waste away.
No, because you got people in your chat saying nobody said this. Can I just say the quote? Can I just say what he tweeted? Okay.
I guess
this is what Donald Trump posted in 2022. Quote verbatim. So, with the revolution of massive and widespread fraud and deception, in working closely with big tech companies, the DNC, the Democrat Party, do you throw the election results of 2020 out and declare a rightful winner, or do you have a new election? Here's the big part, okay? You ready? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. Okay, there you go.
Okay. But you can't take him seriously when he says that sort of stuff, buddy.
Okay. I love you all. I'm going to raid out. But I want to give Sansal and Gibbs, because they were actually panelists, right? A chance to
Artemis, I guess you and I can just go ourselves.
You guys came in at the end.
Go eat food too.
Artemis spent $1,000 to get internet just to come on here at your request, Wick.
Yeah, you invited me on here.
I asked you like an hour ago.
Yeah,
it would have been great.
I took a shower. I had better things.
Well, we can't smell you or even see you.
I do things for myself, not for other people.
Artemis, I love you, buddy. I do. But thanks for coming on, gang. I want to give an outro to Sondsol real quick, and then to Gibbs. And you can find their links in the description of the YouTube. Gang, we got some great stuff coming up for you next week. We're going to be talking about the Olympic event, the controversy where the boxer, right? The Algerian boxer in the women's boxing match, there was a bunch of controversy, and we're going to talk about it. Whether she has SDS, whether she's trans, all of that. We're going to be just discussing it on Monday. I'm also going on to the Heel Shit podcast on Monday as well at 8 o'clock, and that should be fun. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But I hope you guys have a great day. Sansal, take it away.
Yeah, I'm Sondsol. I do political content mostly, but I'll do a little bit of everything. Political science major, just moved across the country to Washington, D.C. So, and just got unbanned from Twitch after a year. Let's go. So
Woo!
We're back here. This is what I'm doing until I'm able to find a job over here. So come check out my stream and give me money so that I can afford ramen noodles and cat food for my cats.
Check it out, gang. Gibbs, last words.
Yeah, so I'm Admiral Gibbs. I'm a real conservative, not one of these fake conservatives that you see on here, So you can come in here and you can find out what it's like to actually enjoy freedom and liberty. On my channel, we do politics 2 nights a week. Starting the 12th, we're going to be also doing a comedy show in conjunction with another guy called Kill Modi. It's going to be a knockoff of the Kill Tony show. I encourage everybody to come in. We take call-ins. It'll be really fun. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Enjoy. We do gaming too.
Hutch, thank you for jumping in. Josiah, thank you for jumping in. And Artemis, thank you for jumping in. Thank you for all the donos. Thank you for all the subs. If you like the content, like the stream, subscribe, all that. I love you all. Bye-bye. Wave.
Bye.
I'm waving. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, catch you guys later, all right? It was fun. Catch you later, guys. All right. Let's go ahead and fix our stuff here. What did you guys think? I think I did okay. There was one part where I just got triggered, and I got triggered and I didn't respond well. Listen. With the wall thing, because the wall is just so stupid, and for people to still be so hardcore in favor of a wall when I feel like most people have moved past it. It's a sock. It is a sock. Okay? It's a sock. I can't find my pop filters in any of the boxes we've unpacked so far. So there's a sock on my mic to keep myself from into the mic all the time. Okay? Well, welcome. For people that are new, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Kick, I'm Sondsol. I am a political science student. I like to talk about politics. I like to argue about politics. We talk about all sorts of fun things on here like drama and politics. And I like to argue with people and chat about a lot of different things. Like, comment, and subscribe. I don't like to shill. Also,